Hey guys, Mr. Crane here. Pretty cool, right? We're going to talk about your Reader's Notebook today. Your first Reader's Notebook entry is due tomorrow. So I want to talk a little bit about what you need to do. Now, the first thing I want you to know is that the Reader's Notebook has two big purposes. The first is for you to talk to me about what you're reading, obviously. Tell me about the novels and whatever it is that you're reading. And the second is to show evidence of the strategies that we're talking about in class. So for this week, we've been talking about imagery and visualizing and what authors do to allow us to create pictures in our mind and how it affects the way we read a story. So let's talk about your first Reader's Notebook entry. The sample that I'm going to show you is from Speak. So you see, the first thing that I do is I always head my letters with Dear Mr. Crane, or Dear Mrs. Freitag, or Dear Mrs. DM, whoever you're writing to is fine. But always head it with Dear and then whoever you're writing to. I want it to be like a conversation that we're having, even though you're writing the letter. So you can see I start this letter off very comfortably with Dear Mr. Crane. I started Speak last week, and I have to admit I'm really into it so far. I want you to be honest. I want you to be comfortable as if you're having a one-on-one talk with me. So, talk as though it's a conversation. That doesn't mean talk like you're texting to me, though. The next thing I want you to do is tell me about your book. Okay, so you see in the line that I have highlighted, I start talking about Speak. Speak's about a girl named Melinda who is having trouble fitting in at her new school, Meriwether High. So you're going to tell me about your book. Now, here's the thing. I don't want it to just be all summary. I want you to tell me what you're thinking as well. So look at what I've highlighted in my sample. I use the stems that I list for you on the Reader's Notebook page. Things that we talk about in class, such as I noticed, or this character reminds me of, or a prediction where we would say I expect. So you can see I put that I noticed Melinda is very sarcastic when it comes to school. And I also said Mr. Freeman kind of reminds me of Mrs. Clapper. And then I also said I expect her relationship with Mr. Freeman to play a huge part in the book. So you see, I'm not just summarizing, I'm also writing down what I was thinking while I was reading the book. Okay, so in the first part of your Reader's Notebook, you're going to tell me about your book. The second part is where you're going to show me the strategy that we're talking about. And this week you see on your checklist that I want you to include some information about how you've been visualizing and how you've been noticing the imagery authors are leaving for you. So you see the first sentence of my second paragraph is that this week we have been talking about imagery and visualizing. So I want you to make that clear to me that you've been visualizing, that you've been noticing the imagery. I want you to tell me about some parts that you really visualized in your books. Not only do I want you to describe those parts, but I also want you to tell me what effect the imagery had on the way you read it. So, for example, we were talking about how in Speak, the imagery really created a feeling of outcast, a feeling of Melinda being alone and by herself, and that allowed us to connect with her. So, I want you to also tell me what the imagery has been doing in your book. Has it been creating a very realistic feeling, a dramatic feeling, a spooky feeling, whatever it may be that you feel the author is doing with the imagery, I want you to describe here. Okay? So, again, just to wrap up, your Reader's Notebook, two big reasons. One, tell me about your book, and two, show me evidence of the strategy that we've been talking about this week. I hope this helps you. I'll still be around one-on-one and having conferences if you're confused. But rewind this video to any part that you need to get you up and running. All right? Good luck.